Hey, soldiers, the employees, I stress that word, employees over at Amazon are pretty upset. They're angry about the return to work policy. Now, we're going to go through this. It's kind of a palate cleanser, but I do have some advice for the upset employees of Amazon. So we're going to go through this. We're going to tell you why they're angry. You got to return to the office, and we're going to examine their grievances. Now, there is a very important thing that they can do. I'll get to that piece of advice for them down the road here. Hang with me. But look, I want you to weigh in after you've gone through and watched the video. I want you to tell me, do these Amazon employees have a point? Or are they just a bunch of entitled brats? All right, so look, let me frame this thing. Hey, when I read this the first time, it proved to me that I am old, because I come from a generation where the employer says, hey, this is the location, this is your schedule, come here, work for the amount of hours we've agreed to, and in exchange for that, we will pay you either at the end of the week or at the end of every 2 weeks, okay? This is how I came up. This is what I was inculcated in. You get a job, you go to work at the location they want you to work at. And listen, most of my corporate experience involved a commute of an hour one way. Okay, most of the time that I was in corporate America, 14 years, I had an hour commute one way. So just keep that in mind. Amazon employees express dismay about sudden return to work policy. Can you believe that? Now, of course, we all know that the reason they were out of the office was because of, the events of 2020. And a lot of people got really comfortable working from home. And look, to the extent that you can do that, hey, it saves the company money because you're not using their electricity, you're using your electricity. And there were times when I worked from home, nothing on a permanent basis, okay, when I was in corporate America. But there were times I could work from home. And I tell you, every day that I did that, the company got a hell of a lot more out of me than they did when I was coming to the office, physically coming to the office. The reason for that is because I wasn't commuting. I wasn't engaging in any water cooler chit chat. I wasn't going to lunch, okay? Nothing, and I wasn't saying, I got to get out of the office. I got to beat traffic to get home. Most of the time when I worked from home, I started working, maybe a couple of minutes before the official start of my shift. I was salary, so it really didn't matter. But I would routinely work long past the time that, I did. There wasn't a 9 to 5. Let's just say that. And the type of job I had was in regulatory, so it was weird. Anyway, Amazon employees on Tuesday continued to sound off about CEO Andy Jassy's recently announced return to office mandate, including spamming an internal website with messages conveying their opposition to the new policy. So they are highly upset, and they're letting the management know. Now, again, maybe we were doing something wrong back in my day, but when we were told where to show up, we just showed up there and we worked. And then at the end of the day, we left. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very honest with you. This is, sign of the times maybe. But back when I was in the work world, you send a whole bunch of letters up to management talking about you're dissatisfied with the fact that you have to work at a certain location. They would solve that problem for you eventually by removing you from the job. That way you don't have to worry about showing up at all. A group of tech workers created a Slack channel and drafted an internal petition pushing back on the return to work mandate, which requires them, the tech workers, to be back in the office at least 3 days a week beginning May 1st. Okay, so they only have to be in the office 3 days a week, out of 5, I presume. The petition urges CEO Jassy and Amazon's leadership team, known as the S team, to drop the mandate just days after it was announced. So they're saying, we're not with it. You need to reverse course on this. We've gotten quite comfortable working from home. And look, they may have a point. Hang with me. The group has since amassed 16,000 members and about 5,000 employees have signed the petition as of Tuesday night. Employee dissatisfaction with the mandate spilled over onto the retailer's internal news feed for employees called Inside Amazon, where workers repeatedly commented on a recording of Jassie's recent all-hands meeting. This was just unheard of in my day, okay? Getting on to a little company internal messaging system and complaining about the CEO, that had ramifications in my day. Ramifications that included you working for another company at some point soon. Now, they go on to say, this is one of the messages from the board, by arbitrarily, I have a problem with that word, but we'll get to it in just a minute. By arbitrarily forcing return to office without providing data to support it, and despite clear evidence that it is the wrong decision for employees, Amazon has failed in its role as Earth's best employer. All right, this is someone who's not really connected to reality. First of all, by arbitrarily forcing, listen, within the bounds of the law, the company can do what it wants in terms of expectations it has for employees in terms of their schedules and work locations. Now, here's the great thing. If you are an employee and you say, I don't want to work over there, or I don't like that schedule, then this is where employees win, because you have the opportunity to find other employment. It's just that simple. You're not heavily vested. You didn't go out on a limb and risk capital to, put this company in place. You have a lot more freedom than the CEO even in terms of finding a new place to work. And then they go on to say that they want data to support the decision. They don't have to provide you with that. This is entitlement to the max. Finally, in that sentence, it says, Amazon has failed its role as Earth's best employer. Come on. Yeah, you bought into that. We did the report a while back about buying into all this company jargon and allowing yourself to be willfully deceived into adopting a company's mission over and above your own. This person has certainly done that. I believe this decision will be detrimental to our business and is unethical to how we make decisions at Amazon. Is it really your business? How many shares do you own? Or are you just an employee? Maybe you're forgetting your place. And look, I'm being real when I say this, and some people may not like that. But if you're going to do things that ultimately endanger your ability to stay employed because you're antagonizing the decision makers, then yeah, I think it's appropriate for you to have to ask the question, do I own this business or am I just an employee? So they're saying they were caught off guard by the announcement. They're expressing a lot of frustration that they might have to find arrangements for childcare, caregivers, and aging parents, or potentially move in order to be within commuting distance. Listen, all of those circumstances would have existed in their lives, whether or not 2020 and its lockdowns had occurred or not. Okay. One worker said they'd recently leased a car with an annual limit of 16,000 miles, assuming remote work was still an option. If they're required to come into the office at least 3 days a week, they'll exceed that limit. And Amazon should care about that. Why? Exactly. See, look, some people might interpret this as me being pro big corporation. No, I'm pro personal responsibility. And I said we did the Mercedes-Benz report just prior to this one. I'll tag it, where I said I owned a leased car. And at that time, I was working in DC. And I knew damn well that if I drove that car back and forth on that commute, I would quickly exceed that mileage limitation. So I had a different car. I had a beater car, a hoopty, okay, that I drove 99% of the time on my commute to work. So I had to figure that out. The company that I worked for, they didn't come to me and say, oh, hey, would you like to work closer to your home? Because you just leased that car. Hell no. So I don't understand where these employees get off with this attitude. Other employees took the company's previous flexible work stance as an opportunity to move outside major cities and find more affordable housing and are now concerned about their commute. Well, if you had unless Amazon at some point came out and said, this is permanent, we're never going back to the other way of operating, then you have only yourself to blame. So the employees are providing the company with all this data saying that working from home improves productivity and helps with the whole work-life balance, helps you retain top talent. And those things may be true. But right now, this is apparently not what Amazon wants to do. And I would imagine Amazon has data that supports their stance. I mean, this is a company that is the premier logistics company on the face of the earth right now. All right, so several companies have reverted back to in-office work. Google, Apple, Disney, they all began requiring their employees to either come back to the office for, certain, days, a certain amount of days a week, or, just come back and do their whole shifts at the office, depending on what they were doing. So the processes and procedures that we fell into during 2020 seems like they are sunsetting. So look, I promised the employees of Amazon that I had some advice for them to help them out. Listen, you can always start your own business if you prefer to work from home or from whatever location. And no, it's not easy. But right now you're in a situation where you are trading your time, your most valuable non-renewable resource, for discounted dollars. And in that arrangement, this employer says, hey, we want you to do this. It is within the bounds of the law. It is within reason. And you, again, you have the option not to do it and to accept the consequences of that refusal, meaning you would probably lose that job, but you could find another job. You don't have to start your own business. You could find another job, maybe closer to where you live, so you can keep your lease mileage down, which is the craziest excuse. I can't believe that person actually used that as something they thought would help reverse the decision. Incredible. All right, so let me know in the comments, what's your view on this? Do the employees have it wrong? Am I wrong? Do they have it right? While you're at it, take a look at this report we just did on Mercedes-Benz, a move they just made that, believe it or not, if you view it in the proper perspective, it's going to help you build wealth. But you got to view it in its proper perspective. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.